You've lived through so much, decades filled with love and loss, with laughter and sorrow. You've watched your children grow. You've built a life piece by piece. You've felt the seasons change, not just outside, but within yourself too. Life moved forward. It always does. And you moved with it. You adapted. You endured. You found ways to smile, to make others smile, even on the days your heart felt too heavy to carry. But if you pause, if you let the silence speak, there's something you still feel. Something that's never fully left. It's not loud. It doesn't shout. But it's there, quietly woven into your chest like a thread that never unraveled. It's the pain you thought time would erase, the pain that should have been forgotten by now. And yet, 30 or 40 years later, it still finds you. Not every day, perhaps, but in the quiet moments, in the shadows of old memories, in dreams, in songs, in the unspoken. And maybe you've never told anyone just how much it still hurts. Maybe you've brushed it off with a smile or a joke. Maybe you've told yourself you're too old to deal with it now, that it's in the past and that's where it should stay. But pain doesn't work like that. It doesn't vanish just because years have passed. It stays tucked into the corners of your spirit, waiting for you to finally stop and listen. Not to hurt you, but to heal you. Sign 1. When the past still hurts. It's strange, isn't it, how the years can blur the details but sharpen the feeling. You might not remember the date. You might not recall exactly how it all unfolded. But the feeling, that stays. The sting of being left without explanation. The silence after a goodbye you never saw coming. The cold distance of someone who once swore they loved you. The pain of a parent who didn't protect you. The humiliation of a moment when your heart was wide open and someone walked away without looking back. And sometimes it wasn't a big moment. It was 1,000 little ones, the times you weren't chosen, the words that cut deep and never got an apology, the dreams you gave up because you thought you weren't good enough, the guilt you've been carrying for choices you had no power to change. You may have moved on, built a life, found peace in other places, but deep down there's a younger version of you who still lives inside. They remember, and not because they want to drag you backward, but because they're still waiting for what they never received: compassion, understanding, a moment of truth. That version of you doesn't need you to relive it all. They just need to be acknowledged, to be heard, to be held. And when you finally allow yourself to feel what you once had to bury to survive, you give yourself the gift of healing. Real healing, not forgetting, not pretending, but seeing that young heart and saying, I'm here now. I didn't forget you, and I won't leave you behind. Sign 2, why time didn't heal it. We hear it all the time, don't we? Time heals all wounds. And maybe it sounds comforting. Maybe it gave you hope when you didn't know what else to hold on to. But the truth is, time alone doesn't heal. It creates distance. It helps you survive. It numbs the edges. But it doesn't close the wound unless you tend to it. You see, emotional pain isn't like a broken bone. It doesn't just mend itself because years go by, especially when we've been told to stay quiet about it, especially when we've been praised for our strength instead of comforted in our sorrow. Maybe you didn't have the support you needed back then. Maybe no one asked you how you were doing, or maybe you didn't even realize how much it hurt until years later. So you did what you had to do. You moved on, you kept going, and in doing so, you told yourself it didn't matter anymore. But healing doesn't happen by pretending something didn't affect you. It happens by admitting it did. And now, maybe for the first time in your life, you have the space to stop and truly feel it. You have earned the right to take off the armor, to stop being strong just for the sake of others. You've carried so much for so long. Maybe now it's time to lay some of it down. Not because, yeah, you're giving up, but because you're finally ready to give yourself what no one else did. A place to heal, a space to be honest, a voice that says, I still hurt and I'm ready to do something about it. Sign 3, what your body remembers. You may not have a thought about it this way before, but your body remembers. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment you were forced to stay silent when you wanted to scream. It doesn't forget. It holds the tension. It absorbs the stress. It carries the pain that your heart wasn't ready to process. That tightness in your chest when you think about certain things, the way your shoulders always seem to be clenched, the restless nights, the fatigue that doesn't make sense. That's not just age. That's the body speaking a language we were never taught to understand. Sometimes your body remembers what your mind has tried so hard to forget. It keeps the score, not because it's punishing you, but because it's trying to get your attention. To say, please, feel this now so I don't have to keep holding it for you. Your body is not your enemy. It's been your partner all along. It's done its best to protect you. But now it's tired. And you can honor it by listening, by breathing, by being gentle with yourself when the old pain rises again. You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to be willing to sit with it, to notice, to ask yourself, what am I still holding? And more importantly, am I ready to let it go? Sign 4, the same pain in new moments. Have you ever noticed how certain things keep happening in your life? The same kind of relationships, the same kind of endings, the same feeling of being misunderstood or not quite enough. It's not coincidence. It's repetition. It's your pain showing up in disguise, over and over, trying to be seen. Because when we don't heal from the wounds of the past, we unconsciously recreate them. Not because we want to suffer, but because some part of us is still searching for a different ending. If you were never hurt as a child, maybe you find yourself drawn to people who don't listen. If you were abandoned, maybe you struggled to trust anyone will stay. If you were criticized, maybe you became your own worst critic. These patterns aren't your fault. They're your mind and heart trying to make sense of the pain. But now, with time and wisdom on your side, you can start to choose differently. You can pause. You can notice the pattern. You can say, I see you. I know where you came from, but I don't need to keep living this way. I deserve better. I deserve peace. I deserve a life that isn't shaped by old wounds. You're not broken. You're learning. And every time you choose a new response, you're healing. One small act of awareness at a time. Sign 5, afraid to look back. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what happened. It's the thought of feeling it again. The fear of opening that door and finding yourself overwhelmed. You've spent years keeping it closed, maybe even locking it shut. And for good reason. You didn't feel safe back then. You didn't have the tools. You didn't know how to hold all that grief or anger or confusion. So you did what you had to do. You survived. But now you're not that same person. You're stronger, you're wiser, and most importantly, you're not alone. You don't have to walk through those memories the same way you did the first time. Now you can walk with compassion, with presence, with the ability to say, I'm not here to judge myself. I'm here to understand, to comfort, to forgive. You don't need to open every door. Just one, just the one that's been calling to you, the one that still hurts quietly in the background of your life. Give it light, give it air, let yourself feel. Cry if you need to, write if you can, speak if you're ready, and if all you do is sit in the silence and breathe, that's enough too. Because healing doesn't require force, it only requires honesty and the courage to turn toward yourself instead of away. Sign 6, starting with self-kindness. When people talk about healing, they often think of fixing something, solving it, getting rid of it. But the kind of healing we're talking about here is softer than that. It begins with compassion, the kind you've likely shown to others over and over, but rarely given to yourself. It starts with looking at your pain and saying, of course you feel this way. Of course this still hurts. It matters. You matter. You don't need to know all the answers. You don't need to rush the process. You just need to stop running from yourself. Sit with your own story. Let your heart speak without interrupting. Offer yourself the kindness you always deserved. That's where healing begins, not in perfection, not in performance, but in presence. Tell your younger self, you didn't deserve that. You were brave. You survived. And now I'm here for you. You can write a letter, talk to a photo, close your eyes and hold your own hand. Whatever helps you feel connected to the part of you that still aches. That part doesn't want to ruin your life. It just wants to be included in your healing. Sign 7, gently letting go. Letting go is one of the bravest things you will ever do because it means releasing the pain that has defined you for so long. It means setting down the anger you have carried like armor. It means allowing yourself to be soft where you've been hard, open where you've been closed. Letting go doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means acknowledging that it did and still choosing peace anyway. Letting go doesn't happen all at once. It happens each time you choose to be kind to yourself. Each time you give yourself permission to be free. If this spoke to you, I'd love for you to be part of this growing community. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This space is for healing, for reflection, for real connection. Thank you for being here.